Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Wandering Ukie Cheese Cafe. So I'm coming to you right now along Jarry Street East in the Villeray section of Montreal. So this looks familiar to you probably because I did a couple of vlogs around here, and whenever I go into Villeray, this is the area of town that I usually explore around. So if I was to go further to the west of here, eventually I'll get along to Jarry Park, which I did cover a few episodes back, but I thought I'd do something a little bit different today. I'm going to be going eastward along here, which I really only scratched the surface of because I did like Saint-Hubert Street, and that's about it on the channel. It's an old route that I probably took maybe years ago, and probably rode a bus here or there, like bus 193 here, the Jarry one. I did ride that one, but I want to see how far I could get and maybe do some exploring for the first time on camera, and for me, the first time in probably over a decade. So we're going to get started on that. Yes, Barry Stello. I remember I visited that coffee shop once last year. That was when I was doing a little vlog where I started up around this very street before making my way north into a Hunsick to explore the Villeray promenade for the first time on camera. Hunsick's not an area that I've really explored as much growing up or even in the last few years, so I try to make some time every now and then to be able to try to put these on camera and give a little bit of variety compared to always doing a Rosemont and a Plateau Montreal vlog. If you want to see that episode when I did the Villeray walk, I'll put a card in the top right corner for you and you can revisit that one. And actually, I'm very close to Saint-Hubert Street, so besides maybe one extra block, this is the extent of what I've explored on camera on Jarry, and we're going to be definitely going a lot more eastward. We'll be seeing Villeray, Saint-Michel, Saint-Leonard, and maybe Anjou if we're energetic enough. Trying to get a good view of in the back of me because that is a Dairy Queen. It's on the corner of, I think, Boyer and Jarry East. And what's unique about it is that it seems like that, unlike a lot of other Dairy Queens where they rebranded and have a new design, this one has the old design that probably dates as far back as the 1970s, if not earlier than that. I say that because one of my aunts pointed out that the Dairy Queen on the corner of Beaubien and 9th Avenue in Rosemont that we used to visit with my babcha years and years ago had the same sign in the 1970s. I guess that's as far as their memory is going to extend to, but you know, just a little bit of neat thing to show that some places still keep the old design. And right now I'm continuing along Christophe Colomb Avenue. The main part of the street that I know is around the plateau, like south of Sir Wilfrid Laurier Park, where it's mostly a one-way street going down towards La Fontaine Park, but here it's a two-way street, so you're going to have, you know, both directions going this way. But if you also go, let's say, a little further up, this area, eventually once you pass Highway 40, is going to become the Christophe Colomb auto route. So it does become technically a highway, I guess. And I'm going to need to go across the street because there is some construction happening here. Here I am right in front of Villeray Park. I passed by this before, but did not even know what the name of the park was originally, so I had to look it up on the map, and now I got a point of reference. Definitely seems large, but it's definitely not as big compared to, let's say, Jarry Park further west, La Fontaine Park, or especially Maisonneuve Park, but it is still a sizable park over here. Now, I'm actually past the point that I documented of Jarry on camera, and I know I've done a walk around here in the past. This is like from my earlier young adult years where I just hop on a bus and the subway, just walk around sometimes and then find a new route to take. Before I was always an avid walker. So it's like when I was doing one of these long walks, it was like out of the ordinary for me. Now I definitely dig them. Normandville actually comes pretty far up here. I wonder if it extends any further, because it's one of those streets that whenever I see it, I always think of Rosemont and I guess Villeray to an extent. But it also makes me think of one of my favorite beers from Brasseur de Montréal, the Normandville Hazy IPA. It's like a New England style IPA, but also kind of on the light side, like 4.8%. So it's not going to be too crazy. I am now in between Fabre Street and Jarry Street, so depending on where you look on in the map, that is actually going to be the dividing line between the Villeray section of Montreal and going into the Saint-Michel area. So technically I'm in a different area of town now, which kind of resembles Villeray in a way, but I'm sure there's other bits and pieces I could see as I'm going along here. And there is one interesting little detail that I've noticed when you go down the street and get closer to Highway 40. Papineau Avenue, another one of the roads in Montreal where if you go past the 40, it eventually becomes the Papineau autoroute and takes you directly into Laval. Now, I love when people wave at the camera and get me on whatever, but that's one way to get into Laval. Papineau, from what I read about too, is actually the longest street that goes north and south along Montreal, so I guess that's a little bit of trivia for me. Almost like when you look at the east and west streets, Sherbrooke is long, but Gouin Boulevard is actually the longest one. I took a look at the map earlier when I was doing this trip and I thought, wow, it extends even further than I expected it to. I don't think I'll be able to do that all on one video because that is long. You're looking at going into Pointe-aux-Trembles, like the far east of Montreal, and then going pretty much into Senneville, Sainte-Anne-de-Bellevue, into the nature park there. So it actually covers a lot of the island up north. Well, who knows? One day I can get adventurous. I've gotten to a pretty interesting intersection along Jarry. So if you're around the Villeray area, Jarry Street is actually south, and then if you go a couple of blocks north, you eventually reach Crémazie Boulevard, and above that, Autoroute 40, the Trans-Canada Highway, or the Metropolitan. Depending on where you are, that's the name of it. But once you get past over here, like past Delorimier, it crisscrosses so that Autoroute 40 actually starts to go south of Jarry, so then they kind of switch places. I don't know why they did that configuration, but I guess it's a neat little bit of trivia to show off while I'm walking around. And here we go, I'm right underneath the autoroute. Wait, Jarry's actually in that direction? And there's no pedestrian crosswalk for that, so I guess I'm gonna have to make my way elsewhere to try to figure out how to continue my route. So it's one of those streets that you're not gonna be continuing straight, you do gotta take a detour to be able to continue along Jarry. That's one thing I'm noticing, but the other thing I'm seeing is that once you get into this part of Saint-Michel, there are some standalone homes, so it's not like the stacked row housing I always associate whenever I walk through the streets of Montreal. But I'm guessing I'm thinking more central Montreal, because as I get further east and west, that's when it starts to become a lot more residential and I guess a little bit more suburban in nature. Oof, little detour has been taken care of. So yeah, I didn't realize that trying to get to Jarry Street would have been complicated if you're intersecting the highways, but luckily I did get to Iberville Street and that was allowing me to continue my route, and oh, next block is Jarry, so that means I can avoid this auto route going forward. So thinking back to this highway, I'm trying to think, we probably did do a few rides on it with my dad over the years when we were younger. Earliest one I could think of, or the one that stands out, is visiting my babcia, going to Zhytinski's, and then taking it westward to go visit my aunt when she was living in Bay Durfee at the time. I remember that because I think at Zhytinski's they had these Ukrainian Easter egg sets where you just put on a wrapper around an egg, put it in boiling water, and then it just shrinks, and it's almost like it does an intricate design without you having to know the actual tricks of the trade. I did do them when I was a kid. I have the kit at home that I bought from the Ukrainian festival, which, by the way, I did document back in 2022, and I'll put a card in the top right corner for you if you want to revisit that episode. But I'm guessing if I ever have the time and I feel like staying home, I I could try to revisit that to see if I can still do it. And here I am at another crossroad for me. It's Jarry Street East and Saint-Michel. So technically if I was to go towards the south, that means I would be passing by Highway 40 once again, and then I would be going towards the part of Rosemont where my grandmother used to live. So that would be like, 10th Avenue, Beaubien, the old Dunkin' Donuts, the churches, Jatinsky Deli. So all these classic parts I remembered. Even like Esposito, if I was to think back to memories of that. I won't get into all of the history about that, so if you want to see that, I'll put a card in the top right corner and you can watch my very first visit through Rosemont on camera, which was almost recorded like practically 4 years ago. It's crazy to think just how much time has passed by. Don't mind me, I had to get the thumbnail all set up for this episode, but you know what? I'm walking around this part of Jarry and I can honestly say that I don't really have much memory at all from walking around here or taking the bus ride. So that means that it was like a one-off ride I did on bus 193 and that was it. But I know I'm going to eventually get into Saint-Leonard, and that you could definitely tell because you can kind of pinpoint the architectural style that they have that's pretty typical around it for the shops and also for the homes. Similar to what you see maybe in Saint-Michel technically, because I know I've seen the homes like that a little further south here, but also in LaSalle apparently, some parts of, it's pretty much everywhere, but I'll point it out afterwards. On quick glance around the street, I'm seeing that a lot of the businesses look like they're still pretty rustic, like the original buildings, and it's a very industrial manufacturing area, so there's not too much to document. I guess so far the most interesting thing I found is a Kim Fat grocery store that's right across the street from me. Anyone who goes to Brossard knows that there's a Kim Fat on Taschereau. I know there's a location around Côte de Neige, and there's probably a few other random ones around here, but I just happened to come across that one. So I'm approaching 19th Avenue, but I guess once you get to Jarry, it turns into a different street, Avenue Albert Louis Van Hout. I might have to look that up because I wonder if it's related to the coffee guy you see on the package. Peanut Boulevard, or I guess, actually I don't even know what kind of auto route this is. I just know that it's one of the busier streets over here, and I always knew it was unique because if you're looking the center, that's actually the reserved bus lane in the center, and then you got the booths like smack in the middle of the road. It always struck me as odd, but I never really took that bus growing up just because, I never really had to ride for rush hour. So knowing that I'm past Peanut, that means I'm probably a hop and a skip away from Saint-Leonard. Or something that caught my eye here, the Rock and Sea Bar Terrace. I don't know if that closed down or if it's been replaced by this Palais Istanbul Kebab. Hard for me to say, but I will say that the vibe definitely changes once you get further away from the center of the city, because unlike a lot of the parts of the center where these non-stop microbreweries I could try out, it seems like it's old-style taverns you're going to find if you want to grab a drink. Not that I'm going to complain, because sometimes I enjoy a good dive bar too. And I've now made my way into Saint-Leonard. So the defining houses you're going to see around here are what you see in back of me. These like multiplexes that look like it fit 3, 4, sometimes even 5, 6 tenants around here. So that kind of architecture you're going to find very much around this part of town. And I'm also very familiar with how wide and big it is because my grandparents on my dad's side did live in Saint-Leonard for the last few years before my grandfather passed away. So I do know what the style is like, seeing what the look is, and I also remember the chairs that were covered in plastic that you were not supposed to sit on. I guess it was like, you want to protect the furniture, then that's what you did. Now let's see if I can find some other interesting shops around here. Possibly something to get some hydration, because I am getting kind of thirsty. maybe a coffee, even though it is a little past 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Oh, yep, 4:03, making good time. The street I just passed by was Villeray Street, one that I'm kind of familiar with because the grandparents I mentioned that lived in Saint-Leonard actually lived very close to Villeray. So if I was to go south past that 40, I would have been able to go find their old apartment, but I've already documented that before, so I'm just going to put a card in the top right corner for you to look at that one again. But one thing I did notice is that that part of the 40, actually it's a two thing that I noticed. That part of the 40, it looks like that there's some crosswalks there, overpass, so you can kind of get on foot and get across. Because I know I've done that with my brother a little while ago. But I also noticed too that from afar, from here, I could actually see the Olympic Stadium out in the distance in the Hochelaga-Maisonneuve district. It's amazing how you can see that thing from very far. And in fact, if I was to look in my neighborhood on the overpass, I could actually see it from there in St. Hubert. Crazy. Well, I think I found the place I could get a potential coffee if I really want a booster. Just over here is Cafe Milano. It's one of those spots I remembered seeing a lot when I was on my Instagram feed. Like it would come up from time to time for Saint-Leonard cafes, which, you know, you can find plenty of them around here. That one, I don't know, it could be something interesting to check out. So I'll stop the filming right now, do a quick intermission, and then we'll see if I can take part in it. So as you can see, I did get myself a coffee after all, but I made it an allongé just so I can ration this out a little bit further. One thing that was kind of amusing for me is that I walked right in and my cashier immediately noticed I was filming right across the street, so it was almost like kind of getting attention before even drawing attention to myself. Usually it's me in front of this camera that people start to wonder, what's going on? What's this guy up to? But it means I got a new follower and spreading the word and getting to show off a brand new coffee shop. And also just take advantage because this is a part of Saint-Leonard I've never really explored that much in my life. Because like I said, you know, earlier in the episode, I came here maybe once on a random bus ride, but I don't have any memory whatsoever of what I was passing by. For me, Saint-Leonard is always going to be like Villeray, Jean Talon, L'Angely, and etc. So that's always my point of reference. So it's always nice to feel like you could be a tourist in your own city. And also discovering all the hidden gems around here. So I'll finish this up, and then once I'm all caffeinated, I'll be able to hit the road and continue along the street. And at this rate, I'll probably be heading up Anjou in no time. It's crazy I was able to walk so far from Jarry Metro all the way up to here. Very nice coffee indeed, and very hospitable, even though I just stepped in there and, well, yeah, I guess that's just what happens when you're filming. You're trying to support and promote local businesses while you're just doing what you do on a day off. So it's pretty nice. And now I'm going to be continuing along eastward again and see where this takes me to. I'm sure the rest of this is going to be feeling kind of brand new to me, except for the end of my route. That construction site looked like it was for brand new condo buildings, so I could see even around here they're building like all these new apartments. Oh well, what can you do? But I am across from another park over here, Parc de l'Homme. If I'll just give a little look of it. Yeah, I don't even remember this park either, but it does look nice. Nice little hills you can walk along, but not too hilly. Like closest comparison I could think about is, I know if I was to go to Saint-Joseph Boulevard East, and right across from Au Beau Marché, you know, the old blind store, there was this kind of similar park that had this one hill there. I think we might have visited or drove by there a little bit, but that was probably to go to the East End, like further east from the blind store, or random drives on Saint Joseph. I don't know. It's like a case of you sometimes walk by certain areas and then you get flashbacks or vague recollections of passing by there, but not knowing the entire context or the reason for it. I'm sure there were other parts of Montreal we visited that I have the same situation with. We went through, but I have no memory of why we went through, or even what it looked like back then. These apartment buildings or condo complexes, those I kind of recognize the design, because if I was to go along Bélanger on the corner of that and Boulevard des Galeries d'Anjou, I'll see the exact same buildings, because I know that in the late 90s, early 2000s that they built the very same things. Because prior to that, when we were going there with my dad, that whole lot of land was completely empty, like nothing was on there. Yep, just thought I'd throw that trivia too. Well, here I am around familiar territory again, L'Angelier Boulevard. So this is one part of Jarry that I do kind of remember, because if I was to go diagonally down there, I'd be right by another flea market, the Metropolitaine, that's like right by the 40. We used to go there whenever we were trying to look for used video games. It was a bit like the Mercado, if you know about Greenfield Park on the South Shore. It's like a similar concept of clothing boutiques, a whole bunch of other random kiosks, but magnified even larger than that. And then when we were done, we always come around here to eventually get to the bus stop to take the 33 down to the L'Angelier East Metro. So I'm not going to be going there because I feel like it's closed. It is Monday after all, and I didn't see any cars in the parking lot. So I'm just going to continue down and see what I could find once I get to the end. I do see that there's Jarry smoked meat that's advertising $11.25 for a smoked meat sandwich. I guess that's an okay price considering 2025 inflation and etc.
Time to take a fast train. Lonely days are gone, I'm a going home. My baby just wrote me a letter.
Well, so this is where Hogs is located. Some resto bar where they have some pig riding a motorcycle with sunglasses on. It's another one of those things I've seen on Instagram. I thought maybe one day I could give it a shot if I'm in Saint-Leonard, but I had no idea of where the location is. I'm at the 6,700 addresses, which means I've actually covered a lot of ground today. But you know what? I don't think I'm going to step in here right now. It looks like it's kind of quiet, so I don't know if it's open or not. But even then, I think I'll save that for another trip when I want to indulge a little bit more in Saint-Leonard. I'm just going to continue on, and I think I'm going to be finishing off on Boulevard des Galeries d'Anjou, which, if my calculation is correct, I should be very close to it. And here we are on the end of my journey. I'm now on Boulevard des Galeries d'Anjou in the city of Anjou. So if I was to go a little further past the 40, because there's an overpass there, that means I'm going to be crossing into the part of town that I know best about here, Galeries d'Anjou and the Les Halles d'Anjou, because I've been there a lot growing up as a kid. I know if I want to continue my walk, then technically, if I was going further east, then I would eventually reach Highway 20, which is what takes into the La Fontaine Tunnel and then eventually gets into Boucherville. But I think I'll save that for another time. Not there's going to be that much to see around there because it's just a highway and etc. But I think that's where Jarry ends, because Beaubien Street, Jean Talon, they all end around the same area too, where it gets to the 20 and then all the streets become a different name afterwards. So you know what? Overall, it's been a pretty good walk. Lots of steps done. I had some good coffee. Was able to visit Villeray, Saint-Michel, Saint-Leonard, and then Anjou, all in one walk. So that means that just along one street, I was able to get the sense of the character for every single one of these boroughs around Montreal. And I know that if I go to other random cities and maybe find a random street, I can probably do the same thing. But that will be for a later time. I think it's time for me to decide if I want to head on home or find something to eat very soon. But, you know, I guess I just need to recover myself a little bit. But it's been a great walk. So everybody, thanks for watching this latest edition of the Wandering Ukie Cheese Cafe. And if you like what you see, you know what to do. hit that subscribe button below and give me a thumbs up if you enjoy watching me while I do my walks around the city, exploring for good food and drink, finding stories, and also my recipes at home. And if you have any ideas for future episodes, leave in the comments section. I'll see what I could do. Till then, take care. We'll see you next time and enjoy the ride.